Hello, welcome back to the Red Path. Today, we're going to have a little chat with Dara and see how his competitive journey has been going recently. Dara, how you doing again, mate?
Good, Jamie, man. Good, good, good.
So you've just had a pretty busy week, haven't you?
Yeah, yeah. Got a lot of 40K in last week, which was great. Hadn't played for a couple of weeks, so managed to squeeze 4 games in last week. So, yeah, had a great time.
Get
Lots of
nice,
fun.
fluffy, friendly games, right? You know, just beer
Oh,
and
yeah.
pretzels, right? Yeah.
Only nice, fluffy, friendly
Yeah,
games
of
against the
course. Yeah.
Dark Elder. Yeah, no. So I played some pretty hardcore competitive games last week. Basically, anyone and everyone I knew who could come over for a game was coming over.
Okay.
And yeah, it's only going to kind of keep going now in the next couple of weeks, kind of getting into that training regime.
Yeah.
But yeah, some only ninth edition Codex armies I played. So I played Dark Elder twice, played Blood Angels, and I played Orcs.
Okay.
So some armies that I'm very familiar with, like the Dark Elder and the Blood Angels, and then Orcs was pretty new.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a really fun week. Had a lot of good games, good moments, and some interesting thoughts at the end of it.
So overall positive experience, like win, loss or draw. It was good to cut your teeth in there and like
Yeah,
claim some
yeah.
skulls. Yeah.
Yeah, so it came out of it 2 wins, 2 losses.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was fine. Definitely learning more about the Dark Elder and understanding how to play against them.
Mm.
But I still find them very much at my boogeyman matchup. I think it's going to be really hard to beat them. I think for the time being, at least for me anyway. I
Right.
just find them a tough army. But yeah, pretty confident against Orcs, very confident against Blood Angels. I kind of know how I'm beating those armies now.
Okay. Good deal. Good deal. So tell us, what I'll do, I'll have the list you ran. I'll just put it on the screen right now, so we ain't got to go into depth on it, because anyone in the Discord's going to be fairly familiar with it anyway. But tell us, because obviously this was kind of a new iteration you were testing out, and you made some changes. So was there anything in this version of your list which didn't really work for you? Whether it was inefficient, you couldn't figure out how to play it right, it just wasn't working against these armies. Like what was going on there?
Yeah, so one of the things I did try out this past week was the Warp Talons,
Okay.
and basically recommendations from a lot of different people. And to be honest, while I saw how they can be useful, and in some games they definitely were useful, overall, I think it's a mix of inefficiency and my ability to play them correctly. So
Okay.
basically, the two things that you said. I know that in a message you put it really well, where you had like these 3 points of like how to make the Warp Talons work, and if they're not fulfilling those conditions, it could be a
Yeah.
really bad time. Like going first, is there terrain to move into, a good target for the first charge, all those kind of things. And to be honest, I did find those that was a problem for them. So we'll say in the first Dark Elder game, they managed to take out a raider in the first turn, which was fine because I
Yeah.
went first. It wasn't a crazy good trade. There was like blood brides in it or something, and I wanted to get them on the ground pretty
Right.
fast. So that was fine. In hindsight, I definitely should have multi-charged. It was the difference between a 4 and a 6 inch charge to hit 2 raiders. I
Yeah.
wasn't confident in my ability to kill both those raiders, but after seeing how much of an overkill it was to put 10 warp talons into one raider, I,
Yeah.
I should have done both.
Right.
I honestly just underestimated their potential in combat. So I could have taken out 2 raiders, which would have been really good. I would have grounded a squad of 10 incubi as well.
Oh yeah.
And basically, what happened then is they were immediately swallowed by the Blood Brides,
Yeah.
which was fine because it kept them in the deployment zone
Yep.
for a turn, and then I tied the traders, the cultists in afterwards, so it just kept them there for the game, which was
Mm-hmm.
perfect. That was good. I was happy with that. But it does sting when you kill like an 85-point model for 220 points of your army, and then that's it.
Yeah.
I know that's not all what it's about, but that
But
was
yeah,
kind of. I came away from that being like,
you
don't
do
know.
have to start with the raw math. When you're looking at a
Yeah,
trade, you start with the math and then you throw in your X factors. And that's a big
exactly.
disparity. That is a big
Yeah.
disparity.
And so then in the other games, pretty much similar story. Like sometimes I know in the orcs they failed a 4 inch charge into
Ah,
3 mech guns, which was really annoying, and I re-rolled it. Now to be fair, the mech guns had to then shoot the warp talons, which they were really like it didn't play well into their shooting, so they
Right.
only killed like 4 of them.
Okay.
And then in the next turn, the Warp Talons got into them anyway, obviously took them all up, and then proceeded to move across the board into some Ludas and stuff, and it kind of like snowballed from there. So
Yeah.
I found them really good in the Orcs game. I just know everything could have gone a turn faster
Yeah.
if they made that first stretch, but that's not a big deal. That's down to the dice,
That's the dice.
So
That's
I
right.
did find them good there, and then second time against the Dark Eldar was different opponents. So he brought 2 of the bombers, and yeah, lost a lot of warp talents to bombs in the first turn, which was awful because I was kind of like I couldn't have shielded against this because
Yeah.
you know
Bombs.
you can't block 2 planes that
Yeah.
have bombs. See, I lost 5 from a single bomb, which was obviously very lucky to get the 5 on the d6, but like
Still.
man, when I picked up like 110 points of models from a bomb, I was like, dude, this isn't it, you know.
Yeah.
So basically, they didn't really do anything in that game. It was really unimpressed with them in that one. They just functioned as a waste of points, and essentially what it came down to after all the games was I decided that I could probably get a similar efficiency in damage from a 10-man squad of Raptors with melta guns instead of 10 Warp Talons who were costing me quite a bit more. So
Yeah.
that was the bad takeaways, I guess, from the week, which was
Okay.
unfortunate because I really wanted the talents to work, and I do think they can work, but for me it's just not efficient enough.
Yeah. And I just spent all day yesterday painting 8 Warp Talons, so.
Man, I wanted them to be good because I've had my 10 painted. I'm like, finally, it's an excuse to use them.
Yeah.
But
No,
yeah,
I do, and you know what? I in a way I kind of echo your thoughts, but I am going to run them in my my tournament coming up because I need to use them on the table. I've mixed results in TTS. I need them on the table because it's a different way of playing. But yeah,
of course,
I understand that. I do. So all right, what about positive stuff? What's something that maybe you added to your list or altered about your list that seemed to pay off consistently, or it felt like it was working, even if your opponent countered it? You know what was the good stuff in your list?
The cultists, man. I love them. I love them so much. Like, I watched your video that you put out on the unit analysis of the cultists, and that kind of made me start thinking. And yeah, so I brought 40 in the list, 2 squads of 20.
Ooh,
I've
nice.
since changed the exact iteration of that, but
Yeah.
there's still 40 on my list. So yeah, I was literally just poplecting first turn, getting them onto objectives, getting them to do ROD, getting them into places where I was basically move blocking a swathe of the area of the board. And this was pretty much consistently for every single game. Man, they're so good at like baiting in. Like with orcs, I just used them to bait in some stuff because it was like, yeah, they have to die, and then you know you can counterplay that. They're so good at that. You know, we always talk about it. It's like that trade out game that you have to play, right? So they're such a good pawn if you think of it as chess.
Yes.
They're so good to bait that sacrifice. And one thing that I found was like a hot combo when it paid off. So get the Warp Talons into combat, turn 1. They kill something. 2 CP, Blood for the Blood God. Everything auto passes morale for the rest of the turn. I was like, I don't ever have to worry about both squads taking big casualties and only saving 1. I'm like, now I save both, and then I Tide of Traitors one of them. And it's because you do that your opponent is kind of like, well, now I have to kill the full 10-man squad of Warp Talons and all 40 of the cultists. Because if you start killing one squad, it's coming back. And if you start killing both squads, one of them's coming back and you don't know which one it's going to be. So considering that Insane Bravery is 2 CP and you're probably spending it to save a cultist squad so you can tide them anyway, I'm like, why not be proactive and spend the 2 CP in your turn before they even take any damage? So then everything auto passes. And then even if a Warp Talon survives by himself and you lose 9, he's also auto passing. You know?
And
I found it really good. Yeah,
dude,
so
that's some big brain right there. Yeah, I like that, especially. And as you were talking about that, I'd not really considered running, you know, a couple of larger blobs, but I can see that play now. I can visualize it. Okay, I like that.
And I found them really useful for bogging down incubi as well, because it turns out they're not really that efficient at killing cultists, you know? They don't have the weight when you have a big squad of 20. Same with Kabalites. Like, I know my buddy charged into, it was only like 10 cultists left or something on an objective. He wasn't able to kill them with Kabalites, and I was kind of like, I'm muscling around. 3 guys survived, Tide of Traitors into his lines in the next turn, kept the blood rides tied up. I actually, the amount of versatile plays you can make with them. Like every single game, I basically played the cultists differently, and in every game, what I wanted them to do, what I wanted to achieve with them, I managed to do it. So I was really impressed, really, really impressed with the cultists.
I think cultists, and kind of made this as a meme comment in the Discord, but cultists are fucking OP broken
Yeah,
versus Dark Eldar. Like it's
yeah,
that's absurd, but the T3 and Strength 3, like squishy elves, generally T3 Strength 3. So your shooting is reasonably effective, in short range with rapid fire. And when you're running a squad of 20, hell yeah, I'm going to Overwatch. I mean,
yep.
you're charging 5 or 6, like T3 units into me. I'm going to Overwatch. I've done it when I played Dark Eldar a couple months ago. I Overwatched and almost wiped a squad of Trueborn or whatever, the upgraded Cavalries, I think.
Yeah.
Like, I took like 4 or 5 off in Overwatch, and then they couldn't kill me in combat. And it was, I think, okay.
I think, they have a lot of different plays, and I like them. I really like the versatility they bring to the board, the ability to control the board, to be used as a pawn, to appear in your enemy's deployment, to do the awkward retrieve Octaria status. They're so good for that,
Yeah.
And that's kind of why I've changed it now to 2 15 squads and a 10-man squad, because I want that little 10-man squad to do that kind of stuff while the 15 ones bully up the board, Because I want them to do both at the same time. But obviously, you don't really want a 20-man blob doing ROD unless you tied them into your opponent's quarter, and then it's like, obviously that's what they're going to do, right? But I just really like them, man. I really, really did like them, and I know for a fact they're going to be in my list.
Okay. Yeah, it's the wound count. They don't need a save, they don't need toughness, it's the wound count. They could, it doesn't matter because it still takes 20 shots, or 20 wounds, to kill them. And like you say, we've got at least 2 ways to buff morale, plus morale is really good for cultists right now anyway. So alright, anyway, we could fanboy over cultists all day. Was there anything else in your list which you felt kind of really hit the nail on the head? How'd your Leviathans do?
Okay. Sometimes they did great and sometimes they didn't,
Okay.
It very much depends who they're playing into. They destroyed Blood Angels. It was dirty. It was real dirty. Sangard just fold into them, Primaris Marines fold.
Yeah.
The Grav is just, it is aggressive against Marine equivalents, which is why I'm actually very excited to keep them in the list for the Thousand Sons and Grey Knights, because if you bait out the Risen Rubrique and stuff, you can really kind of take advantage of the Graviton and stuff. Yeah, they were good. I mean, in some games my dice weren't hot with them, and it was a case of bad dice, but it kind of led me to getting to the point where I decided I need to incorporate some more rerolls for them to get around those bad dice. So there's a Lord coming into my list now to emphasize rerolls, which is hopefully going to make them a little bit more efficient, because the times that they don't show up, you really notice it. You really, because you're like, I need this guy to do this one thing, but then when they do, they're so good. Like, I mean, I sent one of them into a battle wagon and he just tore it apart. It was just disgusting. Like, he just walked through the battle wagon, and he almost, like, he didn't do terribly against Gaz, And then I had another one. So basically in that one turn, both my Leviathans got charged, one by 6 Meganobs and the other one by Gaz. So I knew I wasn't going to interrupt with the guy going into Gaz, because like it just wasn't the place. So I interrupted with the other one. And man, he killed 4 Meganobs. I was like, damn, dude. Now, to be fair, okay, my dice were insane. Of my 5 attacks, I got 4 through. Really, really lucky. But like each one was a dead Meganob. He's just picking them up with this the Siege Drill. And again, I rolled pretty well on my 2d3 damage for that, so lucky. But I like them. I still think they're good. I know in my heart and soul that 3 Volkite Contemptors is the better play. I get that, but it's just like at this point, I want to push these Leviathans as hard as I can.
Yeah.
And that's the decision I've made.
Yeah.
I know it's like not like the ultimate competitive choice and stuff, but it's just like I've decided that this is the vision for my list, and that's what I want it to be.
Yeah, no, I mean, at the end of the day, mate, we're running competitive World Eaters. There isn't an optimum play.
Right.
I mean, Volkite Contemptors are great, but 2 Leviathans, I don't know. run 2 Leviathans against 3 Volkite Contemptors? I don't know. I think
I think the Volkite does eke out just because of the mortal wounds and stuff, and like
yeah,
it's the volume as well. The volume of shots is so good
yes, that
to have
does
the
help.
consistency
Yeah.
because the 2d3, that's what I noticed the most. That's when they let me down, is when
Yes.
I have a couple of turns where I roll a 1 and a 2 for their number of
Yeah.
shots. I know in my first game against the Dark Elder, one of them every single turn got 6 shots.
Yeah.
I was like, dude, this guy is popping off. Like he charged that Graviton up before the game, full speed. It
Yeah.
was like my newer Leviathan. It was his first game as well, so I'm going to attribute it to that because that's
Okay.
cooler.
Yeah.
But it's this swing on the 2d3 kind of does hurt them a bit. So I think the Volcans do just eke out, especially when you're carrying around them, just maximizing your efficiency. But there's a couple of things. So it's like, yeah, obviously competitively they're the better choice, but like aesthetically I prefer the 2 Leviathans,
Yeah.
and for me I don't really like how Contemptors look when they have 2 Volkite arms. It's
Yeah.
just
I know.
it's not it for me, and like that's not a competitive statement, and I know that, but like I'm playing
We're
World
playing
Leaders at
with
the end of the day.
plastic toy
So
soldiers, man.
yeah, it's like this is what I want to run.
Toy soldiers. Yeah.
Yeah, basically my goal is to push the Leviathans as hard as I can. So that means my current iteration is really emphasizing that. So I've got a Lord for rerolls around them, and I'm also actually bringing a second Dark Apostle now. I've dropped the Exalted Champion,
Okay.
and that Apostle is going to be giving the +1 to hit with shooting as well. So that's either going on a Leviathan or a Drill, depending on who's going where.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of focus now is sort of what the correct amount of force multiplication is between characters, like what's the most efficient variant of it.
Yeah.
So that's my next big goal, is to try and really emphasize that, try and nail that on the head.
Okay, yeah, I like it, and I respect it, man. All right, so you know, you mentioned drills, so that automatically leads us into memes. So there must have been a meme moment. You played 4 competitive games against different armies, different opponents. There's something we need to make a meme out of here, man. Tell us the funniest or the most fun or hilarious moment that happened in your games.
So the funniest one, although it was terribly sad, was so final game against the Dark Elder. It was the 2 bombers, like I was saying. So both of them bombed me in the first turn. I'm like, phew, there goes a lot of my army. And they movement blocked me because we're playing on the new GT Orlando boards.
Yeah.
So each bomber movement blocks a Drill and a Leviathan, so they can't move unless they want to move backwards into basically doing nothing. So I was like, okay, this sucks. So I fire the first Drill into the bomber because I'm like, okay, look, it shouldn't be too hard to kill. It's only a flyer. I got 4 1s and a 2 for his Melta, and I missed with all his Volkite as well. Fired the Leviathan into him, did no damage from the Leviathan. And I was like, okay, so I guess 1 bomber is definitely guaranteed to live. The next guy is same thing, same bomber. And in total, between the Drill and another Leviathan, so this is 2 Drills, 2 Leviathans firing into a Void Raven bomber. I took 3 wounds off it from the whole turn. It was like probably the worst dice rolling I've ever done in like single phase. I was crying with laughter. I thought it was the funniest thing ever. So then next turn he just swapped the positions of the bombers, so they just kept movement blocking me, and I was like, oh, okay, so it's like literally game over immediately. Because like basically because I whiffed so hard, I was just like, damn, dude, that sucks. Like I charged Raptors into it, and they did more damage in combat to it. You know, I was just like, oh, look, okay, it happens. So we called that game pretty early because by doing that switch, it was over straight away, you know. So it was pretty funny. Yeah, that was a good meme. That was a really funny meme.
F in the chat, everyone. F in the chat.
Yeah,
like,
big F.
Oh, that sucks. Yeah, I mean,
you have those games though.
It'll happen, but okay. Here's the thing, right? You know, you're playing Dark Elder, you're playing Drakari, very competitive codex. You're playing a competitive opponent in a competitive game, and they got first turn.
Yeah.
They got first turn, and then you roll poorly on top of that. Is a list of exactly the things you don't want to happen. Like, oh, dude, that's painful.
Yeah, and like the thing is, like, I thought it was good because having to fight in a situation where that much stuff was against you was great practice. And like we could have played the game on. There was lots of things I could have done to keep scoring points, like the ways I would introduce the berserkers and stuff.
Yeah.
But you know, it was like 2 a.m. and we were kind of like, look, we know where this game is going and how much points I could score and what I should do.
Yeah.
but there's no need to
No,
play it.
absolutely. At that point, if your movement is stymied again, hell with it. Hell with it.
Yeah.
Drink a beer.
I was literally like, dude, I was
out.
like, GG, you outplayed me. You outplayed me so hard, you know?
Yeah.
I didn't feel bad about it at all. I was like, yeah, my dice sucked, but like, they sucked, but I was outplayed, you know? It's
he did what he needed to do to slow you down.
So I respect it big time. It was really interesting playing against Poison Tongue as well. So loads of poison on 3+, which actually that is significant. I did find the Poison Tongue was an interesting one for him to take.
Okay.
And played against Mandrakes for the first time, which were pretty cool.
Yeah.
I love smaller incubi. There was Trueborn as well. So yeah, there was lots of cool stuff in that list that I wasn't exactly used to, But yeah, a really, really enjoyable week of games, I think.
Good deal, man. What was your favourite moment? What was like the highlight, like the one thing when Berserkers made a charge, or a vehicle exploded in your enemy line? So there's always that one moment.
Right.
Like, cool shit.
Actually, that's what happened in the next turn as well. The bloody Void Raven bomber fired into my drill and blew it up and did mortal wounds to everything around it, and I was just like, dude, they literally killed so much stuff. No, I forgot about that part of it. So one thing that was really cool and pretty funny was I was like, oh yeah, so some Sangard. Basically, when I was playing the Blood Angels, it's that turn where everything charges in. So I had to pick my combat interrupt, and I was like, fuck it, I'm going to interrupt with the Leviathan, because he's got to fight 5 Sangard, and I was like, look, hypothetically, he can kill them all. Hypothetically, if I hit wound with everything, he can kill them all. So I'm going to spend the 2 CP for the meme, and he killed them all. And I was like, let's go Leviathan.
What's the Sangard's, because don't they have like a 2-up, 4-up or something like that?
They just have a 2-up, they don't have an invuln. So, the siege drill was like, goodbye. So I hit and wounded with everything, was really lucky. But after that, you just went on a terror for the rest of the game. Just walked around and decimated small squads with the Gravflux Bombard. He was just like, goodbye. So that was pretty sick. That was like definitely his best game. I was like, hell yeah, dude, you're rocking it. So yeah, that was the big glow up moment for me.
Okay, good deal, man. So like, all right, just close it out. Like, you played 4 games in 5 days, all competitive, all intensive. You got to be on your top performance. Afterwards, do you feel that you've got some growth, some lessons learned, some positive takeaways? Like, what are your closing thoughts on it?
Yeah, massively. It was a great week for improving. I noticed at the end of the week, the way I was deploying my army and thinking about my army was better than when I started the week. Okay. And just in terms of awareness, exposure to armies I hadn't played before, like the Orcs, different iterations of the Dark Eldar, it was great for that. So yeah, definitely was a useful week for understanding where I want my list to go, understanding what is working, what isn't working, things that I want to change, new iterations to try. So I feel like every week I'm now getting closer and closer to the most refined version of the list, which is what I'd like to be doing.
Excellent, man. Good deal. All right, well, I think we can close it off there.
Yep.
And I'm sure we're going to hear more about your thought processes and your train of thought in a video or 2 coming up as well. But yeah, Dara, why don't you take us out, mate?
Yeah, as always, everyone, thanks for hanging out. Thanks for watching. Let me know what you think of all this down below. And until next time, stay healthy, stay safe, kill Mainbar.